And welcome back. Welcome back to another fasting review. That's right. We are now almost 72 hours. We're just minutes away from a 72-hour fast that we've been doing. And I'm just excited you're here. Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and we're going to the next level. We're creating the life we've always wanted. That's what we're doing right here in this space. We're talking to adults with type 2 diabetes who want to reverse their diabetes, get off of medication, who want to improve their health. And in fact, in addition to those people, those type 2s, yes, we're talking to everyone who has metabolic disease. We're talking to everyone who has high blood pressure, high cholesterol, pre-diabetes, polycystic ovarian syndrome. You're struggling with weight. You're struggling with fatty liver. All of those diseases get better when we talk about what we're going to be talking about here today. I'm glad that you're here. If you're new to me, go ahead and put new in the comments because I'd love to welcome you with a hand clap and some music to let you know that I am very excited that you're here. If you do have questions, go ahead and drop those in the comments in the chat because we'd love to welcome you and say hello. Let you know that we are appreciative of you being here and that we want to answer your questions. Whatever platform you're on, whether it's LinkedIn or Twitch or Instagram or Facebook, and of course here on YouTube, we welcome you to the space. If you've been following me over the course of the last week, you've seen me popping up randomly somewhere. And we've been starting our fast, and a lot of our community members have been in that space with us. And I'm excited that you are joining us. If you did your fast earlier this week, if you started your fast yesterday, if you're ending your fast now, hey, welcome, and welcome. Because it's going to be an amazing discussion we're going to have. You're going to get to see what I break my fast with, right, today. We're going to talk about how do we get into the fast, what do we do to prepare for the fast, and of course, how do we break that fast successfully so that we are making sure that we're getting all the benefits that come with fasting. Also, I've got my numbers, right? I've got my meters that are off to the side. Of course, my report, my Dexcom Clarity report, which is right down below me. We'll take a look at those and we'll just chop it up and see what's been happening. If you have not done so, if you've not been to our channel, if you've not been joining us in our morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. Every morning we've been there. We completed our 100-day walk to consistency series a little over 3 weeks now, well, 4 weeks actually. We are well into this week's or this new series, which is strength, strategy, and mindset. Strength, strategy, and mindset. You want to get there because there are some amazing things going on. In fact, if you come there, when you come, you get to see all of the activity that we're doing, that I am doing, to try to work on my body. You get a front row seat as you also work with me to improve your metabolism, improve that physique. I tell people I'm working on my beach body. That's right. That's what I'm working on my beach body. And those are and have been some amazing conversations that we've had. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull up one of those episodes so that you actually get to see what we've been doing in that space. So if you've not been there, I'm encouraging you, I'm telling you, come on over because it is fun. It is fun. In fact, let me do this, right? So you get to see what is going on with me, right? So I'm showing you as we're working through, as we're going through this process, it's not just, hey, let's talk about it, right? I'm talking about let's do it right now. Let's do it together, right? And so in this episode, this was 2 weeks in, we did an episode at the beginning where we talked about what I looked like, the weight that I had lost, and now we're saying, okay, what are we going to do? How do we get this done? So you want to come on over, and you may not come on screen and show us what you look like right now, but I want you to be taking pictures. I want you to be measuring. I want you to be working with us because as you do that, you're doing all the exercises that we're working on and you're getting the benefit from those. Okay, so we're doing some weight training, we're doing some toning, we're doing some endurance exercises, an amazing process. This is one of the arms of what we call our MOVE campaign, right? That is metabolic optimization via exercise, right? By exercise. So metabolic optimization via exercise. And so you want to make sure that you join us in that space, because it is an amazing part of what we do. We're fasting here, and we'll talk about fasting, but also in corollary to that, in connection with that, something that's associated with that, something that jump starts and boosts our fasting is the activity that we do. And walking and strength training, two arms of, like I said, the MOVE campaign, metabolic optimization via exercise. You want to make sure you do that. And all of that really is a part of our Limitless Living Health Action Plan, which we've been walking through together. All right, now having said that, let's go ahead and let's take a look at some blood sugars so you can see what's been happening in my space with me in terms of blood sugars. And you'll see right there, that is my Freestyle Libre. And the Freestyle Libre right now says that my blood sugar is 69. And we're looking, if you see right here, there's a little graph right about there. Let me see. Yeah. Ooh, come on. Right about there. Let me pull my finger back. Right. You see that, right? So that is my blood sugar that's been going on over the last roughly 12 hours or so here. And you see the squiggly line. It's riding right above, or it was riding right above 100, and then of course now, as you see, it is below 100. So if I go over and I look at my Dexcom, and the Dexcom, you see my sensor is going to expire here in 24 hours. My Dexcom allows me to put my finger on the report and actually see what the numbers are. So this is a 24-hour period, so 12:13 yesterday, so about 24 hours ago. Right, blood sugars were 114 and kind of rode into the teens for most of the day, for most of the morning, most of yesterday. This is yesterday. And then, let's see, what time is that? 1 a.m. this morning, 2 a.m. this morning, started climbing. So that's the dawn phenomenon. And you guys have heard me talk about that before. That's your body getting you ready to wake up. And so it pumps you full of growth hormone, cortisol, to kind of jumpstart you as you go through the day, and up and up and up. Now these numbers down here, I don't. We were 90, I think one was 60 something. I don't think that's a real number. Probably something was going on. Maybe I slept wrong and they lost something was happening. So that's probably not a real number. But also remember that the Dexcom tends to ride a little higher than the Libre, and so in the low 100s. Let me see, how high did it get? It got up to about 130. I saw that 137, 138, and then of course now coming back down. Okay, so over the last 24 hours, and we'll take a look at my actual report here in a minute, so you get to see what's been going on over the days. Right, so this is just a snapshot. All right, so now let's hop over and let's take a look at blood sugars, and this is going to be done by my Contour meter and my Keto Mojo meter. So let's go ahead and pull those out, and let's go ahead and get my little container. We'll get a brown strip, which is for sugar, blood sugar, and then a blue strip, which is for ketones. We'll grab a couple of lancets because we'll need to use those to get a drop of blood. Get this back, and then let's go ahead and grab a strip for the Contour. All right. So we'll get that into the Contour. Okay, yeah, there you go. And then let's go ahead and open these guys. And as you heard me say on some of our other episodes, that I had to learn how to open these things because they changed them up on me. Let's get that one in there. Awesome. And I'm also going to go ahead and open up the ketone one because I don't want to struggle with this later and then have to do a second finger stick. All right, so here's my lancet. Let's go ahead and grab that. And so there is my lancing device or lancet, and let's get that in there. And ow, that hurts. So I hope that gives me a good drop. Okay, yeah, that's a good drop there. And let's get that started right here. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and pull up the monitor while that happens. Okay, so 64 for the Keto Mojo, 68 for the Contour, and you'll see right there the Dexcom says 113, and then the Libre says 69. So these three are kind of in line with each other. The Libre is right now, you see that very much off from what these are. That Libre is about twice what these numbers are. All right, so let's go ahead and get that in and get that drop of blood. What do you think my ketones are, by the way? So we are now 71 and almost 72 hours. In just a few minutes, we'll be 72 hours of fasting. What do you think my ketones are going to be? All right, so go ahead and drop that in the chat. Drop that in the comments. 1.6. Now look at that. That's the same thing that it was yesterday. And as you heard us talk about with where I was 56 hours, 72 hours fasting. So we want those ketones to be it's roughly 1.5. It's 1.5 to 3 is what we're expecting, and so we're right there. With ketones, 0.5 or less than 0.5 considered normal, 0.5 to 1.5 considered nutritional ketosis, and then above that would be therapeutic ketosis. And so right now I'm above the nutritional period. But whenever we talk about fasting, when we talk about ketosis, what we want is we want those ketones to be above or 0.5 or higher, right? So that's our goal, because that helps us know when we're checking it that our body is truly in fat burning. Because in order for you to have ketones, you have to have burned fat. And if your blood sugar, like mine, is 68, if my blood sugar is 68, that means there's not a whole lot of blood sugar or sugar running around in my blood. If that's the case, then, and my ketones are elevated, now I know for a fact, for surety at that point, that I'm in fat oxidation, and my body has switched over from using sugar, glycogen, to using fat as energy. We'll talk more about that here in just a little bit, okay? So that's where we are. Now let's go ahead and let's hop over and let's take a look at my actual report. And so here's my, this is my Dexcom Clarity report, and you'll see for the last 14 days, right? So my average is 135. My glucoketo index, or sorry, my glucose management indicator, I'm thinking about the Mounjaro, the Keto Mojo. So my glucose management indicator is 6.5. Now this is a calculated number. So if I were to get an A1C, it should approximate this number, right? So I can't say this is an A1C, but it should be close to what that is. I am in target. You'll see that there 93% of the time, and the target being anywhere from 70 to 180 in terms of blood sugar. If I go back and look at a 90-day, because remember your A1C is a 90-day number. And so if I look at the 90-day average, so my average is 119. So that means over the last 2 weeks, because we saw that other one, my blood sugars have been higher, right, than before. Once again, remember the Dexcom tends to ride a little higher. And so anyway, according to this, my glucose management indicator is 6.1, so we should approximate that. And once again, still in target. I'm 90% in target range, and my target is 70 to 180. If we look at the actual numbers, the actual reports for the daily graphs, here's where I am right here at a 128. And let's see, if I go back over to the Dexcom, so here's my Dexcom right now, so 113, right? And so this is probably about an hour ago with that, so it's synced up, and so it hadn't synced the last hour yet. All right, but yeah, so right in here, you'll see that is what my blood sugar is now. And if I scroll back, you'll see we've been kind of running in the low 100s. Right here, those are those numbers I told you that I didn't put stock in. And then back into the into the early morning, and there's midnight. So if I go back, and let me come right here, right? So this is almost 72 hours. So if I go back to 48 hours, when I was at 48 hours, right, blood sugar is 116. If I go back to 24 hours, blood sugar 116. And if I go back at the beginning when we first started, blood sugar was 130. Okay, So right in there. So if you've been following us, you've been seeing this. You saw me go live. Several of you who have been joining us in the fasting process, kudos to you wherever you are. One of the points that that I want to make here is, and we have one of our community members say, hey, I was cooking and I ate something just like I do. So something when I cook, right? I taste it and you're like, oh my goodness, right? So technically that's a breaking of the fast. But what I say to people is just because you interrupted it at that point doesn't mean you have to start over. So like if you say I'm doing a 24-hour fast and you ate something at 16 hours, don't start over. Just complete the fast. And then when you're ready to start the next fast, that's fine. But don't pretend that this is a penalization. It's not that you're in trouble and you gotta, well, man, I'm 48 hours in and I ate something and I was going to 72, so now I've got to start all over from the beginning. No. That's not what we want. That's not what we want you to do. I want you to pick up from where you are and just complete that fast and then pick up again the next time you're gonna fast. And as you know, I do a weekly fast, and that's what we recommend for those of you who are following us. Even if you're not following us and you just happen to come across, this is what our recommendation is. Part of our health action plan that we are fasting once a week, and we have some recommendations for how long that fast should be. So anyway, so that's what my blood sugars are right now, and you'll see for if I take this, and let's see if I can do this. Let me see. Hold on. Let me do it this way. Let me see if it'll let me. Let me see if it'll let me go further back. That one I'm not sure. So if I go from January to now, let's see, will it let me? No, it won't. It'll only let me do 90 days, right? So 90-day average. And if I go back to my overview, I think it's the same thing. It won't let me do more than 90 days. Because what I was trying to do is I was trying to see what the average would have been from January 1 to now. So that would be 5 months, but it only lets me do 90 days. Okay. All right. So that's that. Let's go ahead and let's talk about our topic today. And so we are talking about fasting. We're talking about fasting. And if you're new to us, or you've been away for a while, or even if you've been in the community, let's review why we're doing what we're doing. So fasting is a tool that we're using to help to regulate our metabolism. If you think about where we are in our current climate in terms of health, around the globe, around the planet, if you count up all the people who are diabetic, who have diabetes, there are currently over 500 million people who have have diabetes. There are over 500 million people who have pre-diabetes. Put those two together, and we're talking about over 1 billion, that's billion with a B, people on the planet currently who are suffering from blood sugars that are slightly out of the normal to blood sugars that are in the diabetic range. If we now we got those people, now we add to those people who have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, who are at risk for coronary artery disease, people who've had heart attacks, people who've had strokes, people who have fatty liver, people who are obese or struggling with weight, people who have polycystic ovarian syndrome, and that number grows and grows and grows and grows. It is a pandemic. And so the question that we ask is, if we have so much information, and we have so much knowledge, if we have all this stuff that people are talking about, what you should do, how you should exercise, what medication you should take, right? There are all these things that are out there. Why are we still having those numbers continue to climb? And we have those numbers continue to climb because we are not addressing the root cause of the problem. It's kind of like if you, at your house, right, you park your car, say in your driveway, and there are a couple of kids playing around by your car, and you hear crash, and you come running out, and the windshield is shattered. Okay, and you say, wait, who did what happened? Who did this? And they say, okay, Johnny threw a brick, and the brick smashed the window. And you said, Johnny, don't do that again, okay? All right. So you get somebody, they come, they fix the car, you park it in the driveway again, This time you probably should have put it inside the house, inside the garage, but that's okay. It's in the driveway. Same bunch of kids that are out there. You go inside, you hear it crash. You come running out. Say, what happened? Johnny threw a brick. Okay. You go, you get somebody to fix it. Come back. You park the car again. Same kids are there. You go in the house. You hear crash. You come back out. What happened? Johnny threw a brick. Now you have a couple of options. One of the options is you could go and you say, you know what? This is always happening. So I'm going to contract with the windshield company that they'll just come out ever so often and they'll put a new windshield in. Right? Or you can get them to deliver some windshields to your garage, and whenever Johnny throws the brick and it crashes the window, they just come and they put the new one in. That is one way to handle it. And will that work? Yes, it will. It's a lot of money because it causes other complications. Or you could help Johnny not throw the brick. Right? So if Johnny's your kid, okay, there's a whole other thing. Or if Johnny's somebody else's kid, we got to talk to parents and say, hey, look, Johnny keeps throwing a brick and he keeps breaking my window or my windshield. Now, notice what happened. We could deal with the problem, which is Johnny throwing the brick. Or we can let Johnny keep throwing the brick, and then we can decide that now what we're going to do is we're going to keep solving, we're going to keep patching, we're going to keep fixing the downstream problem. And what we've done when it comes to health is we've said that we're going to fix the downstream problem. We're going to change the windshield. We're not going to address Johnny. We're not going to address the main root cause. We're going to deal with the problem. So people who are out there who have diabetes, right? What we do, we treat the sugar. Yeah, okay, let's treat the sugar. Well, the sugar is not the underlying problem. The sugar is a result of the underlying problem. People who struggle with weight, what do we tell them? We say, hey, go home and eat better. Not realizing that there is an underlying problem. The problem is not the fact that they are eating. The eating is a downstream issue. The eating is the windshield. It is the result. What we need to figure out is, why are they eating? They're eating because of depression. They're eating because of anxiety. They're eating because of past trauma. They're eating because of habit. There are all these reasons why people eat. But what we do is we go and we try to steal the food away. And because we don't address the issue, when we take that one food, guess what? They find a different one. You take the ice cream, now they're eating cookies. You take the cookies, now it's eating donuts. They take the donuts, now they're eating pasta. You take, right? So there's always going to be an issue because we have not addressed the underlying problem. So when we talk about metabolism, the underlying issue with metabolism is the fact that we are hyperinsulinemic, meaning that we have too much insulin in our bodies. That is whether you are diabetic or pre-diabetic, you have metabolic syndrome, you struggle with weight, you have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, you've had a heart attack and struggle with coronary artery disease, risk factors, all of those along that spectrum. If you check those people, if you look at the amount of insulin that's in their body, it is more than normal. And so we keep treating blood sugar. We keep taking food away from people. We keep putting people on medication. We keep doing heart procedures, but we're not addressing the underlying issue. And so in this space, what we're saying is the path that we're working on, the limitless living pathway, says that we are not addressing the consequence without addressing the underlying issue. Let's patch the boat and stop it from sinking before we start painting it. Okay? And so here in this space, we've been walking through that process, and we launched several weeks ago the Health Action Plan, the Limitless Living Health Action Plan, which is a blueprint that says if you follow this, if you walk along this path, then these things will improve your metabolism. They will right your insulin, they will improve your blood sugar, make you more insulin sensitive, and we can reverse your diabetes, and we can delay, progress, reverse all of those metabolic issues that you suffer with. And as part of that health action plan, fasting is a key component of it, because fasting hits all of the pillars we talk about when we talk about reversing diabetes. That is, it hits the decreasing insulin, suppressing appetite, and it hits the reducing sugar. And so on our main show, we are walking through that pathway. And then here I do a weekly fast so that you can see what my numbers are. You can see what's going on with me as I'm fasting, what my ketones are, what my blood sugars do, what different foods do to my body. And you'll see here, before we end the show, what I'm going to break my fast with this today. And I do a 72-hour fast. If you've joined us, yay, excited, right? So Tuesday to Wednesday, those of you who did that, congratulations. Wednesday to Thursday, those of you who did that, congratulations. Those of you who started yesterday and are now breaking the fast with us now at 72 hours, I'm excited. And you keep hearing me say the 24-hour periods, and that is our current recommendation. If you're starting on this journey, we say that everybody, unless you fit certain parameters, everybody else should be able to fast at least a 24-hour period. And those parameters are pregnant women, women who are breastfeeding, children, people who have had a history of eating disorders, people who have reactive hypoglycemia, right? And those people, it's not that they can't fast, but they should talk to their family doctor or their healthcare provider. Or people who have a certain medication that they say, okay, you have to eat with this. You also can talk to your family doctor and say, hey, what's the reason they say that this? Is it just because it causes upset stomach? Well, maybe it doesn't cause upset stomach in me. But everybody else, 24-hour period, once a week. So why is that the case? Why do we want you to fast for 24 hours? Well, whenever we talk about fasting, I talk about fasting in 3 different components. That is how we prepare for the fast, how we get through the fast and what's going on in my body, and then how do we get out of the fast? How do we break the fast? And all 3 components are super, super important. Why are they super important? Because how you prepare for the fast is as important, because if you don't do that well, you don't get through the fast well. If you don't get through the fast well, that's not what we want. And then, of course, if you break the fast and you break it in a way that undoes some of the things that you did in the fast, some of the benefits, then that's not a good thing either. So preparing, getting through the fast, and of course breaking the fast, all 3 are important. And so when we talk about fasting, you'll see we will break it up into those categories. So let's talk about how to get ready. How to get ready. So why is preparation important? Because how you prepare determines ultimately the success of the fast. Preparing for the fast, we want to talk about how to prepare physically, mentally, and emotionally. When we do this, it allows us to determine the milestones. What are those things that are going to happen in the fast? How do we know when we're progressing? And we spent some time this week talking about the various changes that happen in the body. Right, so our last episode from yesterday when we did our check-in and the day before, 2 very important episodes that are key to understanding fasting and going into much more depth in the specific things that are going on in your body. So let's talk about physical preparation. Physical preparation has with it several components. Number 1, rest. So if you are not well rested, when you get into the fast, you will find that you are feeling some of the changes that are going on in hormones and changes that are happening with energy, right? Because the body has to switch from burning fat to burning carbs to burning fat. And if you're not well rested, you will feel that as a big dip in energy, but it's not the fasting that's causing the issue. It is the fact that you are already tired. And so you feel that more profoundly. So the very first thing we talk about is we want to make sure that you're getting good rest. If you are not rested, then the fast doesn't go quite as well. Okay, notice that it doesn't go quite as well. Not that it gets derailed, but it can be difficult. And one of the important things is that your body, your brain, will remember how this fast went as you try to get into another fast. So it'll say to you, hey, wait. You remember the last time we tried to fast? And we felt so bad, we felt so tired, we felt so drained. Yeah, let's not do that again. But it's not the fact that we were fasting, it's that we weren't rested. So number one, we want to make sure that we are rested. Number two, nutrition. Nutrition is important because if you come into the fast and you have high blood sugars, in your process of using up those sugars, the body has to get rid of all of that before it turns to any of the stores. It's kind of like going to the grocery store and you shop and you bring the food home. Well, say you buy, and I'm not sure why I use this example, but this is the one I use all the time. So you buy a big bag of rice, right? 50-pound bag of rice. And you come home and you take some of that rice out, you put it in the pot and you cook it. Right? Number one. So when you're done cooking, you have some that you put on the table. Any leftovers go in the refrigerator. And then the big bag goes into the pantry because you don't cook the whole thing right away. Right? So those are the three compartments within your house where food is. Either it's on the table, or it's in the refrigerator, leftovers, or it's in the pantry because that's the bulk. Okay? All right. So I want you to think of your body in the same way. So when you eat food, in your blood at any one time, there is sugar that's running around. That's the sugar like on the table, the food that's on the table. Any excess that the body has when you eat food, not the stuff that's in your blood, any excess it takes and it puts it into the liver. That's the refrigerator. But if the liver gets full, then the amount that you have beyond that gets put into the fat cells. So once again, table, refrigerator, pantry, or blood, liver, fat. In order for you to have to go back to the pantry to get more rice to cook, what has to happen? You have to have eaten up whatever's on the table. You have to go to the refrigerator and say, hey, wait a minute. All the stuff in the refrigerator is also gone. Now let me go back to the pantry, open that big bag, get some more rice, and I cook it. So in order for the body to begin going to your fat, it has to use up what's in the blood. It has to then go to the liver and use up everything that's there. And then after that's done, then and only then does it get to go to the fat cells, the storage, and say, give me that, and begin burning it. So if you come into the fast and you've just eaten candy, cookies, cakes, ice cream, pasta, right, and your blood sugar is very high, then it takes the body a while to burn through all of that. It's kind of like if you cook too much rice, right? It takes you a while to eat it off the table. And then you put it in the refrigerator. Well, if there's a lot more or a lot, then it takes a while to eat what's in the refrigerator. So how we eat coming into the fast is super, super, super important. Because it can, for instance, if you're fasting for a 24-hour period and you come in with really high blood sugars, you can delay the progression into ketosis because it takes 24 to 36 hours for your body to deplete what's in the liver anyway. So if you come in high blood sugars and it takes 12, 13, 15, 20 hours, then you are just now getting to the point where the body is thinking about getting rid of all the sugar that's in your liver. You haven't gotten there yet. And so people will say to me, well, I didn't eat for 24 hours and my blood sugar is still high. Well, yeah, because we did not come into the fast with blood sugars that were in the normal range. So the body is taking time to burn through whatever's in the blood. Okay? So nutritional, that's very important. If you come in with high carbs or high sugars, then that's going to be an issue. So what we want to do there is we want to come into the fast with as little carb as possible. We want to come into the fast with fat, healthy fats, with lean protein, because protein and fats will help to blunt the absorption of carbs. It will slow the GI tract down and will help you feel fuller longer. Okay, so low carb, high protein, healthy fats. Those three things will help you get into the fast and do that fast well and do it successfully. Okay, so rest. 1, nutrition, what we do. Number 3, hydration. When you're fasting, once you get into the fast, often because you're not eating, you also don't think about drinking. And let me take a sip. And so if you are not well hydrated, it sets you up for difficulty, not just because your body needs the hydration in general, but now you're fasting. And if you're fasting, the body is going to be burning fat. When it burns fat, it has waste products that have to be taken away. And if you are not doing a good job of hydration, then that process becomes sluggish. So all those toxins, all those broken down pieces that have to be washed away, if you don't have enough hydration, then that doesn't work well. The next thing is that your body, the enzymes and the different things that are working in your body to function, just your normal, not even fasting, just normal process, they need lubrication. It's kind of like a gear. If there's not oil there, then that gear gets stuck. And if you are dehydrated, but in other words, your amount of volume in your body is lower, what happens is, in order to send the same nutrients to your heart, or to your lung, or to your brain, or to wherever it has to go, with lower volume, the body speeds up the process. So it makes the blood go faster. The heart rate goes up. So people feel that, like palpitations, heart racing, heart skipping a beat. And if they bend over or they stand up suddenly, because all that blood pools, then they feel lightheaded, dizzy, sweaty, and all those things that we talked about. Right, so hydration and also electrolytes, right? Making sure that you're getting good electrolytes. Now, here is the final food part. When you're coming into the fast, if you have not been eating a healthy diet, nutrient dense food, not calorie dense, right? Not like popsicles and Pop-Tarts, and I'm talking nutrient dense foods. If you've not been doing that, when you get into the fast, you can also have some challenges, because in the fast, you are not putting anything in. When you're eating, right, you're constantly putting in a little bit of carbs, you're putting in some high sugar, some processed stuff, and the body's getting some as you go. But when you stop fasting, the body, you realize, hey, wait a minute, you know what? I've not been doing a good job of eating proteins. I've not been doing a good job of getting iron. I've not been doing whatever it is, right? You want to make sure you're eating nutrient dense foods, and that is that pulls us into what we've been talking about, right? One of the components of the Health Action Plan, and those are the balanced bites, right? We fuel our body with balanced bites. Every bite that we eat counts. And remember, balanced bites is that list, right? So whole foods, minimize processing, no added sugar, lean protein, healthy fats, starchy and non-starchy vegetables, it has to be tasty and flavorful, by the way, and portion controlled. So when you think about, okay, what do I eat when I'm not fasting? That's it right there. Notice that there's no list. People say, can you give me a list of foods? No, there is no list. And I was going to say, don't let anybody give you a list. That's okay. No, that's not what I was going to say. Whenever someone gives you a list, you want to make sure that you check the list alongside what you're seeing right here. Do those foods fulfill these criteria? If they do, then yes, let's have it. If they don't fulfill those criteria, then that shouldn't be something that's on your list anyway. So that is our physical preparation. And then we want to make sure that we are preparing mentally. Right? We're going to prepare mentally, because fasting is not just not eating. Fasting is not just not eating. Fasting has emotional, social, fasting has a lot of stuff with it. So mentally, preparation looks like saying, okay, what am I expecting in this fast? What's going to be happening in my body? Why am I doing this? What is my goal? What does it look like when I've been successful? So what you're doing is you're visualizing, you're preparing mentally, you are anticipating that you may have some challenges, and you're putting things in place. So what's going to happen when I see that person that I usually have that conversation with, where when I finish the conversation, I'm upset, and then I end up in the kitchen eating ice cream. What am I going to do in that case? Because if you don't prepare for it, when it happens, then the fast gets derailed. Not because the fasting was an issue, but because we didn't do a good job of preparing mentally. If you're fasting, that's not the time to get married. If you're fasting, that's not the time to move. Because those stressing or stressful events, however wonderful they are a stressor in the body, those will cause cortisol levels to go up. Cortisol level causes sugar to go up. Sugar causes insulin to come out. And when insulin shows up, you start having cravings. So preparation mentally is very important. So what am I expecting in this fast? What are the milestones that I'm going to be looking at? How do I manage if I do have some challenges? Do I have a support system around me? Do I have a community around me? Who do I call? What am I going to do in that situation? Do I have some mantras that remind me of why I'm doing this? I'm fasting to improve my body. I'm fasting because I want to reverse my diabetes. I'm fasting because I'm improving my health. I'm fasting because this is the best thing that I've ever done for myself. What are some words you can put on the wall? Put in your mirror, put it on your phone, have it pop up randomly. Preparing mentally. And then, of course, preparing emotionally. Now, this can be a challenging one. And let me tell you why. Most of us use food to buffer our emotions. You feel bored, you eat. You feel stressed, you eat. Angry, we eat. We have a challenging conversation, we eat. We're discouraged, we eat. So when we are fasting, we no longer have food as the safety net. And so we're facing those things head on without our buffer, without the net below us. And so we are having to be forced to now face those things and deal with them on their own at face value. And so what are the things that you're putting in place that's going to help you emotionally? Do you have an emotional plan? Do you have a stress management plan? Do you do deep breathing? Do you do yoga? Are there some spiritual practices that you have? What is it that's going to happen? Have you come to grips with the fact that this is what's going to happen? Do you anticipate that it's going to happen? So we're preparing emotionally, right? And this is very much tied to the mental. Remember, your mentation, right? Your mental process is the lens through which you look at the world. That's how you interpret the world. The emotions are, well, let me go back. So how we look at the world, how we see the world is our mental process. Whatever happens in the world has no meaning until we assign meaning to it. When people say stuff about you, those words that they said have no meaning until you now say, okay, they're insulting me. And when you put the meaning that they just insulted you, then you have a feeling about the insult. And that feeling drives an emotion. So see that process. And we've talked about the COPE model, COPE. And the COPE model is the model that we use that says, okay, this event happened. I'm going to clarify, what am I feeling right now? I know I'm not hungry, but what is this? Okay, she hurt my feelings. He hurt my feelings. That's what I'm feeling. I'm going to observe. Where do I feel that in my body? Do I feel tense? Do I feel butterflies in my stomach? Is my shoulder tense? Are my jaws tight? Are my fists closed? Am I in a closed position? Am I leaning over? Am I closed? Am I ready to fight? I'm going to observe, where am I feeling that? And then I'm going to pause to allow my brain the thinking part of my brain, the higher part of my brain, to take over from the amygdala. Remember, the amygdala is that part that says, hey, we're ready to fight. We're ready to run, or we freeze. And this allows the prefrontal cortex to take over from the amygdala. It's kind of like you see a tiger, and the natural tendency is to start running, right? Because you see a tiger. But the brain says, wait, we do see a tiger, but the tiger is in a zoo. So same tiger, but because the brain had the foresight to say, okay, no, it's in a zoo, we don't have to run. And that's what the prefrontal cortex does during that pause. When you allow it to, when you take that pause, the thinking part of the brain takes over. Otherwise, we get what's called amygdala hijack, where the amygdala just is doing its thing and it's going. And then we execute. We do something other than what we normally do. So when we're fasting, in that fasting process, that has to happen. Otherwise, what do? We eat. But we don't want to do that because we are in the process of creating a new cycle. We're not in that old cycle anymore. So we're preparing physically, mentally, and we're preparing emotionally. And those are the ways that we want to prepare. And so when we talk about preparation, there are a couple of things that I want you to take away in summary of preparation. And those are that preparation is very important. Preparation is key. That we have to prepare mentally, and I put mentally there, but physically, mentally, and emotionally. Got to get good rest, eat nutrient-dense meals, and we have to get into community. Right? So that is the preparation for the fast. Now let's talk about fasting itself and what's going on in fasting. When we talk about fasting, we can break fasting up into several ways. The most efficient way I think that people get to understand fasting is if we talk about it in 24-hour chunks and blocks. And then within that first 24 hours, we're going to spend some time in there. Because the other hours, if we want to do more in-depth on those, if you watch our show from last night and the show from the night before, great conversations there. So we'll touch on those, but let's go ahead and we'll spend some time in that first 24 hours. And why is the first 24 hours important? Because this part is probably the most misunderstood part of fasting. People get all the stuff that's happening at 72 hours. They get all the stuff that's happening at 48 hours. But the first 24 hours, people don't quite understand what's going on there. And I think that leads to some friction. Okay? So the very first 6 hours after you stop eating is called the postprandial phase. Technically, it's not fasting. Because what's happening is your body is taking all the food that you brought in and is just sorting it into the different places. It's kind of like, once again, going to the grocery store and you come home and you got all the stuff, the food, and what do? You sort it. You put some in the refrigerator, some in the cabinet, you put some in the pantry, and so on and so forth. Right? So postprandial period. The blood sugar is high, insulin levels are high, because you just finished eating. This postprandial process takes longer the more sugar and highly processed foods you eat. It's supposed to take about 6 hours, but that can be prolonged if the blood sugars are very high. Because if the blood sugars are very high, the body has to do something with all that sugar, and it takes time to burn that all up. It takes time to get it into the cells, or not the cells, but into the liver. When the liver gets full, then it has to package it up and it has to send it to the fat cells. The postprandial period. The next period, the next 6 hours, 6 to 12 hours, is called the early fasting stage. And this is where the insulin levels begin to drop, and then glucagon is coming out. So insulin says, okay, store. Now the sugar is starting to go down, and as it goes down, the insulin level also has to drop, because insulin is only there to put sugar into cells. And if the sugar is lower, then we don't need as much insulin. Because insulin and glycogen or glucagon work in opposite directions. As the insulin goes down, then the glucagon comes up, and the glucagon is responsible for now going to the places where the cell is being stored, or the sugar is being stored, and saying, give me some of that back. Okay? All right, so that's the early fasting stage. And then we get to transitioning to using fat. Transitioning to using fat. And this is the 12 to 18 hours that's beginning to happen, but it doesn't take full effect until 24 hours. So this is where the body is saying, okay, now I'm starting to, the blood sugar's low, I'm using some stuff from the liver, I'm using that up. And then of course, 18 to 24 hours, when the glycogen is gone, from the liver, then the body says, okay, now I'm going to be turning to fat cells. And this is the space that I love to be in, right? Because you saw my ketones, and what we didn't show my weight. We'll do that. I'll make sure I do that before we leave. Because I know at this point, what's happening? Yeah, I'm losing weight. I tell people, for every day that you fast, you should expect to lose about 0.5 pound to 1.5 pounds. For every day that you fast. Right? Because ketones are a sign that my body is burning fat. It's burning fat, converting it into sugar, into ketones, and it's fueling my body. So where do you think that fat comes from? It comes from the storage. So as long as I have ketones, guess what? Fat's being used up. And particularly when you look at your blood sugar, if the blood sugar is low and you have ketones, then we know that the only reason why that's there is that the body is burning fat. Okay? In just a second. Had a visit with the ENT here early today. All right. So that's so ketosis is beginning. And as we move further into this, right? So the next 24 to 36 hours, or 24 to 30 hours, we have fat adaptation. Whereas the body is now in the process of that's what it's using the fat cells. Now, the reason I go through the 24-hour is the 24-hour period is crucial. It is the direct result of what we did in preparation, and it is what sets our body up for long-lasting or beneficial fasting over the next whatever number of hours you're going to be fasting. Because if this process takes long, let's assume that you came in and your blood sugar is high. Let's say it takes you 24 hours, 36 hours to burn all the sugar. Then guess what? It takes you longer to get into the fat adaptation, and so your fasting session where you're actually getting the benefits is shorter. But if I come into fasting and I'm already low on carbs, I've not been eating a lot of carbs, my blood sugar is 90, then the body goes through the process very quickly. And so I get into my fat adaptation quickly, and so I'm spending a lot of time in the process that I'm looking for to help me to improve my health. Does that make sense? And that's why preparation is very, very important. And just like we talked about with preparing for the fast, I want you to understand that getting rest is important during the fast. Making sure you are hydrated is important during the fast. Making sure that you are not under a whole lot of stress is important during the fast. Because all the things I just talked about, if you're not rested, your cortisol level goes up. If you're under stress, your cortisol level goes up. If you're not hydrated, obviously, we know the ramifications of that. So making sure that you're doing all of those are very, very important, because if we don't do them, then we don't do a good job of getting through the fast. And of course, so that's the preparation for the fast. That's what's going on in the fast in our body. And of course, we can't ever talk about fasting without, okay, how do we break the fast? And breaking the fast is very important. And so let me go ahead and pull some stuff here up on the table so you get to see what we're going to use. All right, let's go back over there. All right, so here we have it. Get these things off. So I've got a salad, and the salad has lettuce, cherry tomatoes, cucumbers, banana peppers. I've got some chicken on top there. There's some cheese on the bottom, and there's also some eggs. All right, give me just a second here, guys. All right. All right, so that's a salad. And then I also have some nuts. And the reason I have the nuts is because I don't have a whole lot of protein. I don't have a whole lot of protein here. And so I want to, I'm going to supplement the protein that's in the salad with the nuts. And then I have an avocado. Move that over here. That's going to give me some additional fat. I've got some dressing, ranch dressing. I've got some salt and pepper that we're going to use here, and that's for the avocado. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and let's see what my blood sugar is at this time. So 69 is what the. Let me go ahead and take a picture there. Oops. Those are my people you just saw. So 69. I'm going to take a picture of that so I can record that, and then 111 is what the Dexcom says. Take a picture of that. All right, so let me go ahead and do this because I want you to see this, and before we get into what I'm going to eat. So my blood sugar, my weight, 185. And so people will talk to me about fasting, and I want you to see. So going back, right? So here I was, 260 pounds. 260 pounds. And so that was, what, 3 years ago? And so here we are now, 185 pounds. Now, what I don't have recorded here in this app, because we were tracking it a different way, is what my maximum weight was, which is about 287 pounds. Okay, so 287 down now to 185, so a little over 100 pounds. And I'm going to tell you, a lot of it, the things that we talk about, the things that we're walking through, this is the result of all of that. So and one of the reasons that people say, hey, well, it's not people, but one of the reasons that we go through this process is because I want you to come along with me. I want you to see that this is a process that works. I want you to see the changes in you as you're going through this process. All right, so we've got our blood sugar, right, which is there. And while I get this ready, let's go ahead and let's talk a little bit about breaking the fast. So when we talk about breaking the fast, there are some key components that we want to talk about. Number one, monitor blood sugars. You want to make sure you monitor your blood sugars. And so, as you saw, one of the things I just did was I went in and I pulled up what my monitors were because I want to see what that is. Okay, so I want to see where we start and then what happens to my blood sugar as I eat, because that's very important. I learned as I started fasting that there were some things that were quote unquote good for you, and people said that, oh, those don't raise my blood sugar, but they sure enough raised mine. And so I had to say, okay, those aren't things that I'm going to use to break the fast, because just like when you get into the fast, if you come in with high carb stuff, what happens is when you break the fast, if you eat some things that have high carbs, what will happen is your body will begin craving, because what has to happen when you eat food and the blood sugars are high is insulin comes out. And when insulin comes out, insulin will make you crave. Okay, so we don't want to crave. And so we want to monitor the blood sugar so you get to know what are some of the things that are affecting your blood sugar. And then appropriate portions. Many times it's not that you're eating the wrong thing, but we're just eating too much. We've gotten so used to portions that are not really portions. They're not a normal portion. And so getting into the space to say, okay, this is going to be what my portions are, that's very important. Okay. And then eat slowly. It takes about 20 minutes for the body, for the signal to get from your stomach to your brain that you're full. And by that time, if we're not careful, people have eaten a lot of stuff. And they've eaten more than they should. And then you want to avoid sugary, highly processed foods, because once again, those will stimulate insulin. When insulin comes out, guess what? All of a sudden, the appetite is there. This is a great place to, again, mention that when you're eating, there are some simple rules or simple guidelines, and that is the balanced bites. If you follow balanced bites, then you will be eating the food that is appropriate during the breaking the fast, that are appropriate for help you maintain all the benefit that you got from fasting. Okay? All right. So as I continue to talk, I'm going to go over and let's now take a look at my food. Yay. I get to eat. Okay. So let's see. I've got the salad. So I'm going to pull the salad over here. And actually, let me do this. So as I was talking, I sliced into that. Let me take this off. I sliced into this this avocado, and so I don't know how you cut the avocado, but I just made a round it, and then I'm gonna twist it, and that twists it apart like that, and then I get my knife and I pop it into the seed and I turn it. Oh, it's supposed to. Okay, this one is not quite as. Oops, we don't want to do that. All right, there we go. Okay, so let's get that off to the side. Oops. And then what I usually do with these is once again I'll go down the middle, and then depending on how ripe it is, you should be able to just take the skin off. And this one is not completely ripe, but that's okay. So some of that skin stayed on. Once again, right here, you should be able to just peel that right off. And I'm able to peel it off, but the bottom part, I think the bottom part is not as ripe. And so it's getting stuck. All right, so once again, you can tear that off. I think I get all of that one off. And same thing here. Grab the bottom part. Are you seeing that? Oh, let's go back over here. All right, and you should be able to just tear that off. Boom, boom, boom. So you get these off of the tray. And for this, I usually just will drop some. This is some Himalayan salt, and I just over there. And then some black pepper, some crushed black pepper. Boom. And that's it right there. Okay. And so let's go ahead. My first meal. All right. So we are over 72 hours now. Yo, yay. And let's see. Let's do this one. All right. So here I am. Let's see. Now, of the things in here, let me go ahead and let me pull that back up for a minute. Of the things that are in the salad, I think the thing that is going to cause me the biggest issue in terms of blood sugar are those cherry tomatoes that you see, because those cherry tomatoes will spike my blood sugar more than anything else that's in here. Okay. But hey, we're gonna eat it. So if you've been fasting with me, go ahead and say yes in the comments. Say yes in the comments. And I'm going to do this one so you can see what my blood sugar is. That's what it is right now as I'm starting to eat. And of course, you guys saw there that my friend called in and his name showed up on my show because I have my phone on the screen. I'm talking loud so he can hear me. But I'm not going to answer the phone right now. I'll call him back in a little while. All right. So now you know when that's one of my best friends, by the way. We grew up together. All right. This is very good. So once again, I've got some, of course, lettuce, tomatoes. There's some cheese in there. Eggs. And I don't think I'm gonna eat this whole salad. It's pretty big. The avocados give me that healthy fat that we've been talking about. So, boom. When we start talking about balanced bites, we'll talk more about the components of this meal. Remember, lean protein, minimize processing, and added sugar. So good. Now, what I don't have in here is I don't have any red onions. I usually like red onions in my salad. I do have some red cabbage. So good. Oh, the other thing that I do have in here also is some mushrooms. Right there, it's a mushroom. Yeah, those banana peppers just really make it taste really good. And I like crunchy. I guess you guys are hearing crunchy. But I like crunchy stuff. And all the flavors kind of mixed together. The eggs and the cheese. And the ranch. And all the different flavors that are in there. Oh yeah. So let's talk about some of the things that are in here. So you heard me say that I'm going to eat the avocado. Let's pull that over. Because that gives me some healthy fats. So when you're talking about breaking the fast, just like when you go into the fast, you want to make sure that your appetite is not super stimulated. When you break the fast, if you do a good job with the things you eat, they will help you sustain that process at the beginning of when you're eating. Otherwise, if you eat things that stimulate the appetite, what will happen is that you will get a lot of cravings, and that will kind of derail you, because what's going to happen is all of a sudden you came through a fast 24 hours, 36 hours, 72, whatever the number is, the craving comes and it's so intense that you end up eating a whole lot of stuff that you wouldn't normally have eaten, and it undoes, in terms of weight and blood sugar and so forth, undoes some of the things that you did in the fast itself. Okay? So I've got a question out there, which we'll come to answer in a minute. So that's the what was I talking about? Okay, fat. Okay, so the fat will help release something called cholecystokinin, which will help to slow down your GI tract. It keeps you fuller longer. By the way, that is one of the features of the GLP-1 receptor agonists, right? Ozempic and Mounjaro and Zepbound and Wegovy. They slow your GI tract, so you feel fuller longer. So guess what? Protein or fats will do that. Also, lean protein will do that. So that's why I told you that I was going to eat, in addition to the avocados, I'm going to have some nuts, because I don't think I have enough protein in this salad. I've got this couple of strips of chicken, I've got some cheese, and I've got some eggs, but I don't think that's going to be enough. So I'm supplementing what I'm eating with the avocado and the nuts. Now the protein helps to release something called protein YY. And protein YY also slows down the GI tract, also sends a signal to the body that we're full. So you won't eat as much. Okay, so this salad also had some nuts in it. Are those sunflower seeds? I got this from the cafeteria, by the way. I put it together, but I got it from the cafeteria. So whatever those nuts are, I think they're sunflower seeds. Whatever those seeds are, sorry. All right, this is so good. But I think I'm going to stop here for the salad. Because I want to get some of these avocados in. That's so good. Probably needs a little more salt, but we'll let that go. I'm trying to find the ones that all the skin came off. All right. Delicious. All right, so I see some folks hopping in. Let's go ahead and say hi, and then we'll answer one of those questions. I'm going to continue eating. Can I have some of these nuts? So can I tell you that my weakness, when it comes to healthy food, my weakness actually is nuts. Cashews, almonds, not so much walnuts. But if I get one of these mixed nuts, one of these packages with mixed nuts, oh my goodness. I gotta be careful. All right, so let's move this off. I think I'm gonna keep the nuts up here. Can I do that? They say that was my weakness. All right, so let's go ahead. I see one comment that I said we're going to get back to. Let's go ahead and pull that up. And let's see, Dennis Bolaños. Dennis says, what happens if you reintroduce food too quickly after a 72-hour fast, after a prolonged fast? Well, Dennis, very good question. Sorry, let me finish eating this. Actually, let's do this. I'm going to say hi to Kimmy50 first. Hey, Kimmy, thanks for coming through. Thanks for being here. I'm going to give you a hand clap and some music. Glad that you have come through. And then let's get back to Dennis's question. So, Dennis, what happens is, first we got to understand what's going on in the body when we're doing a prolonged fast. So everything really is kind of slowing down, right? So the GI tract slows down. There are cells in your body that are designed to protect the GI tract. So what they do is they coat it with a protective lining. And when we're fasting for prolonged fast, it's almost like they go to sleep. So they stop making that stuff, okay? Our insulin levels begin to drop because, they drop because we don't need that much insulin during the fast because our blood sugars are low. The glycogen that's in the liver goes away 24, 36 hours. It stores about 100 grams of glycogen, right, normally. And for every gram of glycogen that it stores 3 grams of water. Right, that's going to be significant here in a minute. So these are the things that are happening in the body. So when we begin eating, the first thing that can happen is, depending on the food that you eat, right, if it's very spicy, highly seasoned, lots of spice, then that can irritate the GI tract. And irritation as in, sometimes you'll eat a food, and if you're not used to spiciness, or if you're not used to the acidity, you'll get indigestion. The reason you get those is because it's almost an irritant to the GI tract. So if you eat food and you're eating too fast, particularly if it's highly spicy and hot, and right, then the GI tract becomes irritated. And because those cells that are supposed to protect it have gone to sleep, they may not catch up before you put that stuff in. And so you end up eating it, and the cells haven't woken up yet, and it irritates your GI tract all the way through, which has significant consequences. Because what that leads to in a lot of people is increased elimination. They run into the bathroom all the time, and sometimes the fasting gets blamed for it, but it's because of how they reintroduce food in the post-fast period, in that breaking of the fast. So that's number one. Number two, your body has to replenish the glycogen, right? Because we used it up. And so the glycogen comes in, or the food comes in, if it's highly carb, and as you eat it fast during that prolonged fast, the body rapidly grabs onto glycogen. And because we said that for every gram of carbs or gram of glycogen, it stores 3 grams of water, then your weight pops up. And that can have significant implications for people, particularly people who are, maybe they already have some swelling, maybe they already have some heart issues. So that can have a significant impact there as well. Okay? So their weight goes up. And that frustrates people. They say, wait a minute, I don't understand. I fasted and I seem to have lost weight, but now I've put on whatever number of pounds, right? That's because there's a rapid influx of water in terms of to offset the glycogen that's being stored in the liver, right? So that's a big part of it. And then the other thing that happens is if we eat too fast, the signal, like I said, takes 20 minutes to go from your stomach to your brain that says you're full. And in that space, people can eat 2 to 3 times as much as they need to, because they never get the signal. And so by the time the signal gets there, you've already eaten 2 plates of pasta, 3 plates of pasta. You've already eaten like 4 donuts. Okay? So that is one of the consequences of eating too fast. All right. So Lucky So says, good afternoon. Hey man, good afternoon, or man, gal. Okay. Let me just say Luck. Luck, so glad that you're here. And then Kimmy says, Luxo, good afternoon. Hello from Luxo to Kimmy. And then Dennis says, thank you. Yes. Okay, so I have not been eating my nuts, by the way. My cashews, almonds. This is delicious. Okay. So that is our review of fasting. How we prepare for the fast, get through the fast, and of course, how we break the fast. All aspects of it is very, very important to what we do. If we are going to reverse diabetes, improve our health, get our metabolic process righted, then the fast, right, we're working on how do we get the best benefit, the biggest bang for our buck. Because if you're not going to eat, right, might as well get some benefit from it. And we want to make sure that we're doing that in the best way possible. Remember, fasting is one of the two tiers, the first tier of the Health Action Plan, which says that there is a blueprint of things that we want to follow. If we follow this, then we will right our metabolism, we'll get our bodies back into homeostasis. We will fight diabetes, pre-diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, fatty liver, obesity, metabolic syndrome, coronary artery disease risks, strokes, all of those things along the metabolic process gets better as we walk through the Health Action Plan. And fasting is a huge component of that. Why do I love fasting? Because it is free. And I like free. Fasting is free. I don't have to buy anything. I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to get anybody's permission. Always check with your healthcare provider though, right? So it is one of those low-hanging fruits that doesn't require a whole lot of processing. Now, as you're thinking about fasting, we did the series where we went through the domains of health. I tell people that you have to have gone through the domains of health. You have to have walked through that process so that you could identify things that could potentially push you off of the fasting. Remember, the triggers for fast or for food, for eating, come from our HEAT model: habits, emotions, access, and taste. When we are used to doing certain things, we do those things all the time. We eat when we get together as friends. We go to the movies, we eat popcorn. There are all these things that we do. Everybody at work gets up to go to lunch. Guess what we do? We eat. So we got to watch our habits. Emotions. If you get too mad, too frustrated, too tired, too lonely, too bored, all of those things, those will push through your desire to fast. And so you have to understand what your triggers are. Food just being around the area, right? So cleaning up your environment. If you know, like I know, that these nuts will trigger me and these nuts are going to make me eat it when I'm not hungry, then guess what? I don't bring them in the house. I have some in my car, but they don't come in the house. So cleaning up your environment. So access. And then we also eat because of taste. The things that we eat often remind us of a time when we felt a particular way, when we were in a situation. The food is what we're shooting for. The emotion, the benefit is what we're shooting for. That's what we're searching for. It is not the food in most cases. But there is this thing called the bliss point, and this is a thing that when they make food, right? If I'm a manufacturer of food, I don't want you to get food and eat it only once, right? What do I want you to do? I want you to keep coming back. So what is the right combination of flavors, of salt, fat, sugar that I could put in that? What's the right consistency? Do I make it crunchy? Do I make it soft? Do I make it firm? So that's a science. So that when I create a food and I send it out there, I know that they're not just going to eat one because I've created the food that way. There was a commercial actually years ago. I think it was potato chip commercial. You can't just have one. So what are your triggers? What are the things that are going to push you? What are the things that are going to get you off of your eating plan? And those things we want to begin learning. So preparation for that. So when we talk about fasting, that is one thing that you want to do. But other than that, it's free. It's right there. It's low-hanging fruit. You can do this. You can start at any time. And here on the channel, everything that we do is based on our Triple E formula for success. We educate, we empower, and we encourage. We educate with the show, with the blogs, with the podcast. All of that was with the intention of changing our mindset, changing how our thoughts are, changing what we do, changing our interpretation of the world. Remember, nothing in the world has a meaning or has an effect until we give meaning to it. Nothing in the world has an effect until we give meaning to it. When we give meaning, we have a feeling. The feeling drives our emotion. The emotion drives our behavior. The behavior drives our activities. The activity gives us a result. So ultimately, it is our thought process that gets us the result. Because it is how we see the world. And changing how we see the world is all about education. And then we empower. Here we're using fasting. We got the health action plan. We've got our 100-day walk to consistency. We've got the strength, strategy, and mindset series that we're doing right now. All of those are tools. The balance bites, the heat model. Those are tools that we are saying you can use these. And if you use these tools, they will help you apply and get through successfully the things that we're learning. And then community. We educate, we empower, and we encourage. And the encouragement comes from community. It is amazing to be doing something that's good for my health, but even more amazing to be doing something that's good for my health when I'm in community with people who encourage me, pull me along, push me sometimes, allow me to lean on them. All of that, very, very important. So community, very important. Finally, or lastly, or maybe not lastly, but also, there are over 1 billion people on the planet who need your help. Those are the people who are pre-diabetic and diabetic. As a matter of fact, there's more than that. There are also the people who have high blood pressure, coronary artery disease, fatty liver, people who struggle with obesity, people who have polycystic ovarian syndrome. All of them need your help. And the help that you can give them is to let them know that they don't have to keep going down the path of becoming a statistic. That they can make a change by the behavior, by following through the process. They can be part of a revolution to take back their health. So you can talk to your family members, talk to your cousins and them, your mom and them. You can talk to your doctor at your church, at your community center, and say, hey, we can make a difference in our lives. We have the ability to choose to be different. And the evidence for them is going to be you. Oh, come on now. Come on, come on. The evidence is going to be you. So you can't just listen to the stuff. You can't just watch the stuff. Because at that point, it's just theory. It does not get power until you infuse your behavior into it. And that's what limitless living is. It says that I'm going to do everything in my power. I'm not allowing anything from outside of me or anything from inside to prevent me from doing what I need to do. I'm showing up with my best self, my best health, and my best plans for my life. So when you come, put this stuff in practice. That's why it's called the Health Action Plan. Because it needs your action. It needs your behavior to be successful. I'm always excited when I'm here. Glad to see you. Glad that you guys are here. And glad to see all of the benefits that I'm seeing in the community. Go ahead and drop in our chat. Tag this and send it to somebody. Let them know that there's a place where they can be successful with their health. We will be back tomorrow, 9 p.m. Central for Video from the Vault. On Sunday morning, we will have This Week in Review at 6 a.m. Central. And then on Monday, we'll be right back here for Dwain Woode MD Live at 7 p.m. Central as we continue walking through the Limitless Living Health Action Plan. Thank you for being here. Remember, you're not broken. You are adapting. And we've got to learn how to listen to our body because the body is giving us a signal. Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Woode with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here I educate, I empower and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. We're creating the life we've always wanted by living a limitless life, which says nothing outside or nothing inside is preventing me from going where I need to be. I'm coming with my best self, my best health, and the best plans I have to be successful. Thanks for being here. We'll see you in our next episode, and we'll see you as you continue to live your limitless life. All right, everybody.